Committee will come to order. The chair notes the presence of a quorum. Pursuant to committee rules, members of the committee may submit written opening statements for the record. I ask that members may revise and extend their remarks on the bills to be considered at this markup and have those remarks included in the record. Without objection, so ordered. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recess of the committee at any time. Pursuant to Committee Rule 3I, the chair announces that he may postpone further proceedings today on the question of approving any measure or matter or adopting an amendment on which a recorded vote is ordered. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for a full committee markup. Today we're considering 4 bills under regular order that support rural and tribal communities across the country by facilitating the completion of an existing Indian water rights settlement, increasing land access, supporting polar bear conservation, and more. The first bill, Mr. Downing's Crow Tribe Water Rights Settlement Amendments Act of 2025, will make necessary adjustments to the 2010 law to better enable the Crow Tribe of Montana to implement its long-standing water rights settlement. The legislation will provide flexibility to deliver a reliable water supply to the Crow Indian Reservation and extend the tribe's exclusive right to develop hydropower without requiring additional federal funding. We'll also consider Mr. Amadei's Northern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act, which combines various land management proposals affecting public lands in several northern Nevada counties. With more than 80% of Nevada's land federally owned, the relatively low percentage of private land creates significant challenges for rural communities. The transfers of land out of federal ownership in Mr. Amadei's bill will increase public access and spark economic development. H.R. 6251, introduced by Mr. Begich of Alaska, will amend the Marine Mammal Protection Act to allow for the importation of polar bear trophies that were legally taken in sport hunts prior to the species listing under the Endangered Species Act way back in 2008. This bill will address the pending import permits of the 41 American hunters with legally hunted polar bear trophies currently stranded in Canada. Finally, we will consider H.R. 9436, introduced by Mr. Lawler, which extends the current regulatory pause in Maine's lobster fishery through 2035, avoiding a regulatory shutdown of the American lobster and Jonah crab fisheries. This legislation provides the time necessary for ongoing data collection efforts to inform workable regulations for the lobster industry. I think I'm hearing feedback on the... Maybe it's outside. After our regular order bills, we will consider 5 additional bills under unanimous consent. These bills will allow the Miami Tribe of Oklahoma to settle their land claims in federal court, bolster research and education initiatives designed to improve the scientific understanding, management, and sustainability of the nation's water resources, and protect Native American and Alaska Native patients from medical debt by expanding the window to notify the Indian Health Service after they have received outside emergency care. These bills have achieved bipartisan support, and I appreciate the minority for working with us to reach consensus. I look forward to the discussion today, and I yield back and recognize Ranking Member Huffman for any opening statement he may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't envy your job right now because I know you've got to project a sense of normalcy, a sense of business as usual in a Congress that has simply melted down in dysfunction, canceling session days, failing to must pass a long list, an ever-growing list of must-pass legislation, and sending us home for days, even weeks at a time. While there is a lot of work that we should be doing, and a huge part of that work consists of oversight. Back in May, I laid out the priorities committee Democrats and I want to see happen, and what a responsible Congress would be doing right now. Near the top, a public oversight hearing on President Trump spending billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, to turn our nation's capital into his own personal playground full of gaudy vanity projects. The destruction of the White House East Wing, the infamous ballroom, the 250-foot vanity arch, the botched reflecting pool, the takeover of the East Potomac Golf Course, the list goes on. If a Democratic president did any of these things, we would hear endless outrage from our Republican colleagues, just like we're hearing strange feedback from the street outside this hearing room. But because it's Trump, and because our Republican colleagues are afraid of him, if we're being honest, they look away. Mr. Chairman, because this is disappointing. I think you know how important oversight is. I think you know we have a duty to conduct it. There is a flood of evidence right now that this administration has pursued these vanity projects by shaking down billionaire donors with business before the federal government, by issuing secretive no-bid contracts, by selling access to the president, by blasting through budget constraints, leaving taxpayers to foot the bill, and brazenly violating federal law. And while the White House has plowed ahead with all these tributes to President Trump, it cheapened and politicized and monetized our nation's 250th birthday celebration. We tried to get Republicans to work with us to prevent this, but they looked away. So, as you've seen, we went ahead with our own investigation and released an in-depth report on how the White House hijacked the 250th. They set up a shadow corporation, Freedom 250 LLC. They misled donors, potentially through criminal wire fraud. They sold access to the president, diverted public funds, engaged in self-dealing, and harvested Americans' private personal data for partisan ends and self-enrichment. And we were left with something. Instead of the broadly unified national celebration Congress set in motion 10 years ago, we were left with a disappointing flop of a 250th that goes right up there with the Fire Festival, with the Wonka experience, empty pavilions, C-list entertainment acts. We warned you about this unfolding fiasco in our committee's jurisdiction, and you refused to see it. So today, as we consider a hodgepodge of bills before us, there's still an elephant in the room demanding oversight from the Republican majority that has become a toothless cheerleading squad for a corrupt president. Turning to the bills before us, my personal favorite is a bill to let super wealthy trophy hunters import the remains of about 40 slaughtered polar bears. You just have to ask, is this really what we should be doing right now? Trump bulldozed part of the White House. He's illegally building a Great Gatsby ballroom and an arch to himself. And instead of investigating, House Republicans are doing a solid for Don Jr.'s safari buddies. Trump's cost of living crisis is out of control. Our constituents are working harder than ever and falling further behind. They sent us here to do something about those things. They didn't send us here to help pampered elites with a masculinity problem file paperwork to bring dead polar bear trophies through customs. Today's agenda fails the American people, but it shows who you are, who you care about, what you stand for. And so we will keep asking questions that our House Republican colleagues refuse to ask. We will use every tool at our disposal to deliver for the hardworking Americans who sent us here, and we continue to ask you to join us in that serious business. I yield back.